Well, good Aussie afternoon to everybody, and welcome to season 7, episode 1 of the MGA Rules on Tap. This is new to me, not only doing it from Australia. Obviously, I'm accustomed to doing it live, but this is a new setup IT wise for me, so I'm hoping it's working. So, Fran, I can see you taking a bite. Yes, you can obviously hear me. So Fran, I'm going to wait a minute. Let's see. We can't verify, I don't care. Let me see, Fran, let me see if I can turn on your mic. And nope. Maybe, Fran, do you have your mic muted or are you able to, if you can unmute your mic, can you turn it on? I'm trying to unmute it and I can't. So I'm not really sure what's going on. So anyhow, I was going to let Fran tell me if everything is okay. First of all, okay, so Fran, since I've got your attention, did the sound and the audio come through on the song okay? Thumbs up? No, you didn't hear the sound. Well, that sucks. Okay, well, sorry about that. I'm not. Okay. So who's talking? I can hear somebody.
Bonnie Blaylock.
Hey, Bonnie, how are you?
Good.
So you were not able to hear the music either?
No, I did hear it.
You did hear it.
Yep.
Fran, okay,
Can you hear me?
so
Can you hear me now?
I can. So did you hear the music at all, Fran?
No, I did not hear the music.
At all, Fran?
No, I did not hear the music.
Bummer.
I'm Virginia. I didn't hear the music either.
Bummer. Okay. Well,
I didn't either, Doug.
I will work on all of that. So that's a bummer, but anyhow. So let's see. That obviously is something I'm gonna have to work with. I don't know if it's it seems it works on my end. I heard it and it's just as beautiful as ever. So just trust me that it didn't change. So anyhow, I appreciate your dealing with my IT. So first of all, Fran, can you see me?
No, let me see. No.
No. Well,
I see you in a little box.
well, you're supposed to be able to see me in a little box. I mean, the main screen should be the welcome to season 7, episode 1.
I have that.
I have that, but I don't
Okay,
have.
well-
I don't have you.
Well, Fran, you already know what I look like. So
Yeah, I know. I spent 19 days with you.
yeah. So anyhow, well, I'll deal with that. I'm not really sure why some people are seeing me and some are not. Bonnie, are you actually calling in or joining through Teams or what?
I'm on my computer.
On your computer?
Through
Okay.
on Teams.
Okay, well, there I see you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and Judy
I went to
Davern, Judy-
view. If you go to view, you might be able to change it to see everything
Okay, so
up above.
everybody can go to, if you have on your screen, Bonnie, where is it on the screen? At the
It's on the
top,
top.
probably?
Yep, across the top.
Doug, it
Okay,
was on mine. It looks like you have to be on page 1 of 4.
page 1 of 4.
So if you go down to right above your own picture, there's arrows either right or left. If you're on 1 of 4, if you go to 2 or 3 or 4, you don't see you.
Oh yeah, okay. 1 of 4. Yep, that's what I have.
Okay, Fran, did you see that? Are you able to see me now?
No, I'm not. I've got.
One
So
1 to 4
if
is
you-
above your picture, Fran. Maybe.
So,
Let's see. Let's see. Went to view. Went to speaker. I got Bonnie. I can see her. I mean, I don't need to see Doug at the moment, but.
well, no, that's okay. What I want to do is, forgive me, guys, because this is going to be sort of I'm not going to say it's a beta test because I'm going to go through, I do have subject material that we'll go through, but if we can debug a lot of this, it'll make life a lot simpler for me going forward. So Anyhow, so Fran, if you go up to the top line at the top of the screen, you should see a word view.
Yeah.
Click on that and you should get a drop down and according to Bonnie, or Brian, there are 4 options and you want to go to the leftmost option.
Well, I've got gallery, speaker, together
I have,
mode.
No, that's
I
not in
think
the
I'm on
drop down.
gallery.
What I'm talking about is on the right side of the screen are the pictures of everybody. When you get down to the one above, right above your own picture, there's a 1/4
Hmm.
or 2/4. It's which page you are on of 4 pages. And you're on page 1, top right. Fran, you're on page 1, third down from the left.
Okay, let's see.
You don't necessarily need to see yourself. I mean, you don't even have to need to see me for that matter, but I mean, if you really wanted to.
I can see where Doug is. I don't see a picture of him though.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. What's this?
All right. So the next question is going to be, are there, aside from the music, not everybody hearing the music and not everybody seeing me, is everybody hearing me and seeing the main screen? Okay,
Yep,
Yep.
perfect,
yes.
marvelous. That's quite honestly, those are the main ingredients for what we're going to be doing. But anyhow, so yeah, this is where I am. Here, it's the Australian Golf Centre. It is the home office for, joint office for Golf Australia, which is the Australian version of the USGA, as well as PGA Australia. They built this facility. It's a beautiful facility. I wish I could take you on a tour and look around. It's a beautiful facility. I am in the Kim room. And if you see behind me, let me get over on this side. It's because of Grace Kim. Now they have all these different rooms, meeting rooms, and they are named after the Australians who win major championships. And of course, Grace Kim has won a major championship. And when she won hers, she kicked out Jeff Ogilvy. So, there's a Lee room, which is attributable to Minji and Minwoo. And they have all sorts of other ones, as you might expect. I'm sure there's a Scott room and all of that. So anyhow, this is a beautiful, beautiful facility. It's also the home for the high performance unit. High performance unit, for those of us in the States, the USGA has unveiled a couple of years ago their National Development Team program. We in the US were a little bit behind other countries. Golf Australia has been doing this. It's being led, the general managing partner is Brad James, who, for those of you from Minnesota, would be familiar with that name. He played for the Gophers and then he became an assistant coach in 2001. He took over as the head coach of the Gopher men's program in 2004 and was there until 2010 when Golf Australia lured him back home. He is from Australia, and so they lured him back home, and he's been here ever since. So that's my connection, and that's how I got this space. So kudos to Brad for allowing me to have the opportunity. So as most of you know, but in case I have any newbies online with me, who am I? I am Doug Hoffman. I'm the Director of Rules and Competitions for the Minnesota Golf Association. I just started my 29th year, which is hard to believe anybody's put up with me that long. And only Gail, my wife, has put up with me longer than that, so that's good news. I am a USGA certified expert in the rules as well as a PGA Master Professional, so enough about me. I don't need anything more about me. The music you didn't hear, or some of you heard anyway, is the intro theme, the main theme for the movie The Greatest Game Ever Played, which is certainly an appropriate title for the game we're talking about. It is the greatest game ever played, but in this particular case, the movie's about Francis Ouimet's 1913 triumph at the Open Champion or US Open at the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts over stalwarts Harry Vardon and Ted Ray. It's a great move if you haven't seen it. I definitely encourage you because if you're joining me on this, you're passionate about golf and you will really, really, really like that movie. So I encourage you, even if you've seen it, to watch it again. I don't know, unfortunately, if they have it on Delta going back. I'll have to check. I don't think they do. Anyhow, this slide, it was really representative of last year. So it gives you an idea of the scope of the audience that we have right now. There are 35 of you online. Probably this whole me getting late in getting the notices sent out, but hopefully it'll grow. But you can tell the number of countries that we reached, the different associations that are represented. I'm sure there are more than that, so I don't mean to insult or take away from anybody else that has that. This would also be the time where you could go ahead and do your beverage poll. Unfortunately, I in order to save me the technology challenge, I didn't add the poll functionality to this for this meeting. I wanted to take care of the primary IT functions, but this is where you can send me, I think you can send me anyway, a notice of what you're actually drinking. And I will tell you that I have Melbourne coffee. Melbourne coffee is the greatest coffee in the world. It is no disrespect to Starbucks, Caribou, Dunn Brothers, and all of the wonderful coffee shops we have back home in Minneapolis and in other places. But Melbourne coffee and this is a large. This is as big as you can get. Well, maybe not quite, but anyhow, you go around the flat white. Even there's somebody, we finished a golf tour just about a week ago, and one of the guys on the tour said, you can even go to Hungry Jack's, which is the Australian version of Burger King. You can go to Hungry Jack's and they will even make you a barista style coffee. And even, what was it? Macca's or McDonald's down here will do barista style coffee. Oh, look at you. You guys are sending in your things. So I saw Philippe did Dr. Pepper and Fireball. Now that's a combination that I should try. I love Dr. Pepper, and Fireball obviously is pretty darn good. So I may have to combine that. So keep sending in your drinks. I saw a Penfold from Penfold Winery here in Australia. All right, so next, I do need to give a shout out to Fraser Nickel and the people at the Golf Rules Samaritan. If this is a group with which you are not familiar, as a rules geek who is paying attention to this is a group you may want to pursue. They do have a website. You can see it down there, the golfrulesamaritan.golf. It is a membership driven, so you have to join to be a member. But if you mention or tell them that you are involved with MGA Rules on Tap, it gives you a 50% off discount. So that's something that you might want to consider as well. If you're into studying the rules, taking quizzes, improving your knowledge on the rules, you can see they have there are forums where people mention questions. So it's really a great thing to do. So I encourage you to follow up on this if you're so inclined. So here is what we're going to be talking about, our tentative agenda for the year. We are going to be talking today about, and of course this has been the welcome, we're going to be talking about the language of the rules. And that's something that if you've been through my Dog and Pony show for years, you know that this is always where I start. Why? Because I'm so passionate about and emphasize the language of the rules. If we don't understand the language, we can't read and understand the rules, much less apply them. So it's really critical that we understand the language of the rules. Then we're going to be talking about the parts of the golf course. We're going to be looking at why we play the game, playing the golf course or playing the game and playing the course as it is found. And there's some model local rules that have been adopted that have been implemented or created and are adopted at the highest level of play, most notably the PGA Tour and the other tours. We're going to be talking about playing a hole and playing the round of golf. Keep playing when the ball is not on the golf course. We're going to certainly be talking about the common relief rule scenarios. We're going to be talking about a ball at rest and ball in motion, model local rules, which I've already referenced, as well as at the end, Masters recap. It's coming a couple weeks late, but we'll circle back and talk about any notable rulings about the Masters and effectively anything that's happened on any of the tours worldwide over the course of the first 3 months of the year. And then at the end, the bonus session, the pin sheet, which is those of you who know me, pins only exist in 3 places, and that's hats, lapels, and diapers. Pin does not exist on the golf course. Of course, it's a flag stick or a hole location. But so this is tongue in cheek, the pin sheet, but I talk about how to set up a golf course. So that gives you an idea of what we're going to be talking about today. As I mentioned in a lot of the information that I've sent out, that like last year and previous years, we are recording all of these. You should have received an email from me with a link to the MGA YouTube page where all of these are going to be hosted. All the recordings are going to be saved. All of the recordings from last year are there now. And so you'll be able to see the recordings from this year as well. So, and I'll be sending that out. I'm not really sure why some of you, I know I've had some issues, but obviously the 37 of you who are online right now had no problem getting some sort of communication from me. But I'm concerned because out of the 37, there should have been a lot more. I sent this out to 200 people, not that I need 200 people, but that's only 16% of the people I sent it to are online. Now, obviously, so not everybody's going to be available. I understand that, but at the same time, and certainly feel free to share with all your friends, neighbors, enemies, whomever, the people you play with who don't know the rules very well or cheat. And feel free to send them the link and encourage them to get signed in. That I do encourage you to bring your favorite beverage. So I saw Chuck Hanlon, I think Scotch on ice, so that's pretty good. So anyhow, we are going to be talking about the rules of golf, and I want to talk. I just simply want to emphasize the fact that first of all, on the screen. Number one, the purpose of all of this is to have fun. I want to try to put the rules in a context that it's an educational experience, but at the same time, we can have fun doing this. So it's really important that I get feedback from you guys. Send me emails, send me questions, send me scenarios that you're uncertain about. And I'm also, as time allows, going to encourage you to make comments and ask questions, things like that. But I want to be respectful of making sure we get through everything. But also I want to make sure that ideally you learn something new every week, whether you are a newbie to the rules of golf or whether you are a longtime rules person, that sometimes, and this is the way I come to it when I've attended so many USGA workshops, often I've heard the same thing over and over and over again. But really what I'm looking for is to find, is there a way somebody says something, presents something a little bit differently that all of a sudden I'm going, wow, I didn't even think about it in that context. So, that's really what I'm trying to get you to do is I try to cover basics and sort of a 35,000-foot flyover view, but at the same time, I will offer specifics. Hopefully that it strikes you and you realize that this is something that, oh, wow, I never thought about it that way. That's a great way of thinking about it, or approaching it as a rules person on the golf course as you deal with the players on a face-to-face basis. So here's what I started to say. We are going to be talking about the rules of golf. And notice it is the rules of golf. It's not USGA or R&A rules of golf. It is the rules of golf. It is worldwide. What they play down here in Australia is what we play in the US. And down here in Australia, they're governed by the R&A. Canada is governed by the R&A, South Africa, Ethiopia, wherever. The USGA governs certainly the United States itself, all USGA territories. Mexico is governed by the USGA, and then a few other typical USGA territories are. But effectively, the rest of the world is governed by the R&A. So in that regard, I would encourage you to this degree of learning things differently. If you really want to study this, what I would encourage you to do is not just limit your resource study process to the USGA if you're in the United States, but go look at the R&A website. The language of the rules is identical, but how they present it can be a little bit different. Those of you in R&A covered areas, look at the USGA, see maybe they have something a little bit different. Okay, so Brian, you're picking up echo. So let me see if I can. Let me turn off. Okay, Brian, I just turned off my speaker. Does that help?
Some,
Okay, wait a minute. Brian, let me know if the echo has gone away. I
that's
hope so.
better.
Anyway, so yeah, I would encourage you to cross pollinate your thoughts by going to either the R&A or USGA to get that, because again, the way things are presented as far as an educational process is good, as well as that Golf Rules Samaritan website. That's really important too. Oh, much better, Brian. Thank you very much. Okay. So definitions, this is what we're going to talk about today, tonight, last night, as the case might be for me. So the language of the rules, as we've talked about, the definitions truly are the language of the rules. Here are some fun facts. One, the rules, the language of the rules, it's written in United Nations English. And the reason that's referenced is because when they did the major rewrite that took about 7 years, that started in 2012 and culminated with these new rules being adopted and put into play effective January 1st of 2019, the language totally changed and in that it's written in United Nations English. Why that's important is because under the old rules, the USGA rules, if you will, there were many words, many phrases that were not able to be translated into other languages. So all of the language in the English written, English spoken rules of golf can now be translated into other languages. And that was really critically important. If they were going to create one set of rules of golf that was applicable worldwide, it had to be able to be applied across the world in native languages. So that's why they did it. And where you're going to see that is certainly within the scope of the language and what's different for us. Certainly in the United States, you're going to see such words as practice and practice. And we have our own variations. We have there, and there. And so it means different things. But practice, as we normally spell it with this ICE at the end, is a noun, such as a law practice. That is a noun. But to go practice, which is an active verb, that is now spelled ISE. And so you need to understand as you read the rules, sometimes that's going to make a relevant difference. Other times it's just simply a different spelling from what we might be accustomed. So for example, honor, I have the honor going to the tee. Well, in that particular case, it's now, if you will, the English spelling, which is Honour. So understand that you're going to see these differences in spelling. Seems to be more relevant for those of us in the United States where you're going to see these things. There are 74 definitions. When we look at the rules of golf, anything that has a definition will always, and always is a big word, but always be italicized in the rules of golf. So when we're reading, no matter what rule we're reading, 1 through 25, or a model local rule or whatever else, if there is a word that has a definition, it will always be italicized. So as you read a rule, as you read, and we will see definitions within definitions. And so as we see that, understand that that will help your maybe understanding of the situation, or maybe lead you to go and review what that definition is to better understand the rule that you're reading, and more importantly, the application of it. These are the things that are included: the forms of play, the parts of the golf course, people, pieces of equipment, as well as actions. And so they're kind of broken down, and this is what I found works really well, is to break these definitions down into those categories. So let's start looking at those. So the forms of play, of which there are actually 8. Certainly the 2 most prominent are the format of play. Are we playing match play? Or are we playing stroke play? Match play is the original format of golf, and that is the format that, aside from the United States, is the predominant form of play throughout the world. For the group that came down to Australia with me about a month ago, in fact, it's amazing that I told Gail that we left a month ago on the 20th of January. When we came down here, all of the scorecards are printed in a form that it was me against you, or side A versus side B, and always referenced in that particular way. It's only, and in fact, Bill Frazier, who was one of the people on our trip, said that he was playing in a Golf Australia event. He's been down here since basically the 1st of January, and he signed up and has been playing in Golf Australia events. And he talked about that, generally speaking, they're only playing stroke play, or medal play, as they often refer to it, MEDAL, medal. They only play that maybe once or twice a month. And so it's always predominantly match play that they're playing. Then we have 4-ball and 4-some. What do those mean? Well, 4-ball, obviously that can be match and stroke play. 4-some, match or stroke play. 4-ball, the correct, we in the United States tend to use best ball, but there is a totally different definition for that. A 4-ball is 4 people are playing and 4 balls are in play. That's an easy way to remember it. A and B are playing C and D, and A and B are playing their own ball. Whereas 4-some means 4 players are playing some of the time. So Bonnie and I are playing, and Bonnie may hit the tee shot and I hit the second shot. Common way to think of that is alternate shot. Then we have Stableford. Stableford is becoming far more common in the United States, and that's based on a point system. 36 possible points, subtract your handicap, course handicap for the day. Let's say your course handicap for the day is 18. That means par in Stableford is 18 points for you, but it's based on points. And the nice thing, the great thing that for those of you that have played Stableford is that you don't have to finish the hole. Once you get to net double bogey, just put that golf ball in your pocket because you are done playing. There is no reason to continue. Now the tour has a format that you actually lose points if you get above a certain number, such as a bogey. But that's not generally the way we play it in Stableford. Those of you familiar with the MJ Senior Tour understand that we play Stableford on that. Then we have par and bogey competition, where you're actually playing against par, playing against bogey. And those three forms are based on stroke play, even though it's a reckoning of holes. In the case of Stableford, it's points. In case of par and bogey, I'm playing against, have I beaten par on a particular hole? But I still apply the rules as they apply in a stroke play format. Then we have maximum score. That's starting to become a little bit more popular. That many high school events are using maximum score, or what is often referred to in Minnesota as circle 10. Once you get to 10, put the ball in your pocket and write down 10 and circle it. That means your official score for the hole is 10, but you actually didn't finish the hole. Then you have 3-ball, which is Brian C. and Fran Page and I are playing a 3-ball match, means I'm playing Brian and I'm also playing Fran at the same time, and that is match play. But all of these, you also have net and gross. So in that regard, do we then double that number? Do we have 16 forms of play? Well, potentially so. So let's jump to the parts of the golf course. And there are only 5 parts to a golf course. The majority of the course, and we have a definition of golf course, and that is the entire playing field. If you think about a basketball court, it's the entire court. If you're thinking about a football field, it's everything from the back line of the end zones to the sidelines. If you think about baseball field, it's the 90 degrees down the left field line to the right field line until we get to the fence, if there is a fence. So that gives you an understanding, and that is the overriding definition. But we also have very specific definitions, and these are in order of hierarchy. And hierarchy is important in some instances because we have to consider, if a ball exists in 2 different places, what takes preference or what takes priority. So number 1 ranked priority is penalty areas. And we all knows what those are. Hopefully we're not using the word hazard anymore. Hazards are old, and we don't use those anymore, although sometimes it's hard to get past that. I still will say it mistakenly every now and then. But those are the things that are defined by red or yellow stakes or lines. Then we have bunkers, and as this shows here, bunkers are not traps. Traps catch the little rodents, and if I told one person on our trip, I told everybody on our trip, when they use that word, that's a bunker, it's not a trap. Trap catch little rodents. And so what are bunkers? Well, they're depressions filled with sand or the like. And the definition of the like is important because not everything's filled with sand. Some cases, if you play down in the Caribbean, there'll be really finely crushed seashells, and that will serve as the item that is used to fill this depression. Then we have the putting green. That means the putting green of the hole we're playing. So here we have to consider in our rule scenario, what hole is the person playing? If the player's playing the 12th hole, is the putting green on hole number 13 the putting green? No. The putting green, meaning there is only one, always refers to the putting green of the hole the player is playing. Likewise, the teeing ground. It's easy to understand the concept of the putting green, but the teeing ground is certainly a little bit more confusing because there are often multiple teeing areas that I'm going to call them. Those are areas that are defined by tee markers, okay? But you may play a golf course that has anywhere from 2 to maybe 6 different sets of tee markers out there. Well, what tee markers are you playing that day? If you're playing the chartreuse tee markers, your teeing area, the teeing area, is that 2 club length deep rectangular box established by those chartreuse tee markers on that particular hole you're playing. Again, you're playing hole number 12, and so that is the teeing area. What about the teeing area? What about all these other teeing areas that exist? Well, because they are not yours, they are set established by different tee markers, they are not the teeing area. So you have to make sure you are truly understanding what we're talking about. And if people at your club now all of a sudden find out that you've taken these classes, they're going to say, oh, wow, they're going to automatically think that you're an expert on the rules of golf. And congratulations or condolences, one of the two, that people think of you in that regard. But understand that if they start asking you questions, it's imperative that you ask questions so that you are truly understanding of all of the facts, because you could answer, and I speak firsthand from personal experience. You can answer a question. If you answer a question without knowing all of the facts, then it's quite likely you're going to answer the question improperly. And so you may be answering the question correctly based on what you think the facts are. So make sure you ask questions to ensure that you are talking about the same scenario. So player says, player tees off, hits a shot, ball comes to rest in the teeing area. Well, okay, so wait a minute, what teeing area are we talking about? Are we talking about the teeing area, or has that player dribbled it 15 yards forward and it's come to rest in another teeing area, but not necessarily the same teeing area or truly the teeing area? So pay attention to that. Then you get to the last definition, which is the general area. The general area is the easiest one to understand, and that is everything. And you can't, I'm sorry that you can't read that word in yellow, but that word in yellow is everything. Everything that is not included in everything else that's we've talked about. That is categories 1 through 4. That includes putting greens that are not the putting green. Putting greens include wrong putting greens, such as, or a practice putting green. So that it would be another definition. What is a wrong putting green? A putting green is any putting green, including a practice putting green, that is not the putting green of the hole being played. Other teeing areas, heavily treed areas, and things like that that are not 1 through 4. All right, so again, there are only 5 parts to the course, and it's kind of like, really? There are only 5 parts to the course? Well, what about all these other areas that have definitions, such as abnormal course conditions, temporary or ground under repair, temporary water, an animal hole, a line of play, relief area, a no play zone. We have a nearest point of complete relief, point of maximum area of relief. We have a wrong place, we have a wrong green, we have the hole, and we have out of bounds, which certainly is not part of the course. The course is limited, that area to which play is limited. Now understand, some golf courses don't have out of bounds. So if where I'm sitting here in Australia, in Sandringham, Australia, this is part of a golf course, the Pines Golf Course up in Brainerd, Minnesota, which doesn't have out of bounds. And so I'm sitting on the Pines Golf Course right now. Of course, he'd be hard pressed to find the golf ball if he hit it down here, but that goes to show that you don't have to have out of bounds. There are courses that don't have out of bounds. So as long as you can find the ball, you can hit it again, maybe. So what about all these things? If you notice the phrase in parentheses below, items that impact CATs, those CATs is an acronym within the rules of golf, meaning conditions affecting the stroke. What are those? So abnormal course condition, that is an item that impacts the CATs. That is the lie of the golf ball. Conditions affecting the stroke is its own definition, but those are the things that impact the actual lie of the golf ball. And you will see that we're going to get into a lot of these definitions as we start to get into the rules in which these are applicable. So conditions affecting the stroke deal with, generally speaking, all free relief scenarios. They are not necessarily going to be penalty relief scenarios. Generally, they're going to be free relief scenarios. Likewise, ground under repair. Ground under repair is a sub-definition of abnormal course condition. Likewise, temporary water, sub-definition of abnormal course condition. Animal hold, sub-definition to abnormal course condition. Line of play. This is a very important topic that we will see. Sometimes you can improve your line of play, such as on a putting green. Sometimes you can't improve your line of play, such as a ball is off the putting green. My ball comes to rest off of the putting green, but it's made a pitch mark that is now on my line of play, and that pitch mark is also off of the putting green. The rules are not going to allow me to repair that pitch mark. Relief area. We know what a relief area is, generally speaking. That may be the relief area, taking relief from a cart path, for example, established by what you'll see, that nearest point of complete relief, number 8. So I'm going to establish that nearest point of complete relief, which will now establish my relief area. I have a no play zone. This is something that the committee is going to decide. A note where play is prohibited. Often it's going to be a beautification area, flower bed, something like that. But it could also be new turf. Maybe they just seeded an area, or a newly sodded area, and the maintenance staff doesn't want you playing from that area. So they're going to declare that area a no play zone, and you're going to be required to take relief. If you don't take relief, you're going to be penalized as a result. Then there's, we've already talked about nearest point of complete relief. The key phrase there, as we'll study when we start talking about the free relief rules, nearest point of complete relief, the complete is important. You're going to have to, if you take relief from a cart path, you have to take complete relief. You can't take relief and still be standing on it. If the ball had come to rest on the cart path, you can't take complete relief so that you're still standing on it, but you have a great lie and the ability to hit a golf shot. You're going to find that nearest point of complete relief doesn't necessarily mean guaranteed relief, because it could be that your nearest point of complete relief is actually worse than playing it from the cart path in my example. Then we have point of maximum area of relief. So that's what that is that's going to be such as a water-filled bunker. Do we have water, temporary water in a bunker, and now our ball has interference from that temporary water? It's possible that we may not be able to get complete relief. So point of maximum area of relief is going to be a subdivision, subdefinition of nearest point of complete relief. It's almost like there's an asterisk there, such as, okay, what if complete relief is not available? In some cases, you're going to have to deal with this maximum area of relief. Wrong place. You drop the ball in the wrong place. You play from a wrong place. Generally, playing from the wrong place is going to result in a 2-shot penalty, or in stroke play, loss of hole penalty and match play. But there could be a serious breach of this. And we'll talk about that when we start talking about that particular rule. Wrong green, I've already talked about it. We have the putting green and then every other green on the golf course. Every other, it could even include target greens on the driving range. If the driving range is part of the golf course, it could include a target green on a driving range. So any green that is not the putting green. We have the hole. Well, what is the hole? That definition will tell us it's 4 1/4 inches in diameter and at least 4 inches deep. And if you have a hole liner, it should be set at least 1 inch below the level of the putting green. And I emphasize the word should because one of the things that you will see in the rules of golf, there are 3 key words. There's may, must, and should. May means the player is going to have options. Must means the player does not have options. The player must do what the rules tell that player to do, such as I hit the ball out of bounds. Presuming the model local rule that allows me to drop where I think it went out of bounds, presuming that is not in effect, and remember that's a model local rule, that is not in effect unless the committee adopts it, I, as the player, must go back under stroke and distance. That is the only option available to me if I hit a ball out of bounds. And then there is the word should, which is a little bit more, oh, maybe we have to massage it a little bit, because the rules are going to tell us what the player should do, but the player isn't guaranteed a penalty if they don't follow that rule. So should is strongly suggest, I guess is the way to put it, but it's not a guaranteed penalty, unlike the phrase must. So that's something, but when we talk about it in terms of a whole, this actually is applicable to the maintenance staff, that hole liner should be set at least 1 inch below the level of the putting green, because we have seen, maybe even experienced firsthand, a ball go in a hole and then hit the edge of the hole liner and come back out. And as unfair as that might be, the player cannot treat the ball as being in the hole, because the only way the ball can be holed is if it comes to rest in the hole, or if it's in the hole and can't come back out. Despite the fact that it may have gone in the hole, the fact is that if it comes back out, as Jeff Hall from the USGA likes to say, bad luck has to start somewhere. And then out of bounds, which is certainly that area where play is prohibited. So those are the parts of the golf course, but you see it's more than just those 5. So now let's get into talking about the people that are involved in the game of golf. Certainly we have a caddy. We know what a caddy is. A caddy, however, does not necessarily have to carry the player's clubs. I could take my swing coach out there with me and just walking with me, and I could be pushing my trolley, carrying my own clubs, driving my own golf cart, whatever it's doing, dealing with my own clubs, but my swing coach is there to watch me and give me feedback. So if that's how I want to use my caddy ability, I can do that. Marker, who is your marker? A marker is the person in stroke play. A marker is a stroke play term, and that is the person who is keeping my score. It may be another player, it likely is another player, but it doesn't have to be. In the case of Augusta, many of us know that if there is an odd number of players when you get to Saturday and Sunday rounds at Augusta, the player who is off first plays as a single. They have the opportunity to either A, play by themselves, or B, play with a marker. And often they will have a member of the club. It used to be Jeff Knox, who was an exceptionally good player at Augusta. In fact, has been known to beat some of the players with whom he played. But they would play with the tour player and with the competitor and keep that marker score. But if the player doesn't want to have anybody else play with them, then somebody's going to have to serve as that player's marker. And so that would be a person who simply walks around with that player and records the player's score on the official scorecard. So that's what a marker is. A partner. Partner is a very specific term from the standpoint that it has to be a format of play where the player actually has a partner, most notably either 4-ball or foursome match play or stroke play, where Brian and I are partners, and the rules are going to treat him equally to how they treat me. So if Brian does something that's illegal for me or against the rules for me, I'm going to incur the penalty, no different, and that's Brian doing that. Let's say Brian picks up my golf ball without or by failing to mark it, then I will incur the penalty, not Brian, because that's the way it works. Don't confuse partner, though, with a teammate. You could have a teammate who you may be playing with, so you could have 2 people playing together on the same team, but they not necessarily be partners. I could be playing Brian in a match, and then Fran could be playing Bonnie in a match. Fran and I are teammates, but we are not partners in that regard. And so I cannot, if there are not rules in play that have been adopted, Fran can't help me, and I cannot help Fran. So this is particularly true in Minnesota early season high school matches where you have Rosemont High School playing Eastview High School in a dual match. And you may have two Rosemont players playing against two Eastview players, but the Rosemont players are not their teammates, but they're not partners. What is an opponent? Obviously, by definition, an opponent, as the term goes, is a match play term, where marker is a stroke play term, opponent is a match play term. You have to pay particular attention. Again, these friends of yours now identify you as the rules expert in your group, in your association, at your club, whatever. They're going to come up with you in a question, and they're unknowingly going to say, well, my opponent. And that should automatically throw up a red flag for you by saying, okay, opponent, ding, 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 that is a match play term. So before you go any further in dealing with that question, you need to clarify that. You need to say, excuse me, you happen to use the word opponent. That suggests match play. Is this indeed match play? Most people who are not knowledgeable in the rules will use the phrase opponent without understanding the definition being match play. So that's why it's really critical that you clarify that. Then you have a side. What is a side? Well, a side basically is synonymous with partner. If Fran and I are partners, Brian and I are partners, we then constitute the side. The side is one or more players. Not one or more, it's two or more players, sorry. It's two or more players. An individual can't be a side, but think about Solheim Cup, think about Curtis Cup. They're playing four ball, they're playing foursome. So the US players are a side, the European players are a side. Then we have an outside influence. What is an outside influence? Anything that can do anything to a golf ball that affects that. So my ball in play is deflected by a blowing tumbleweed. What is the blowing tumbleweed? Well, and keep in mind, this is a great example of how sometimes things can be have multiple definitions. Blowing tumbleweed, yes, by definition is a loose impediment because it's a natural, unattached object. But it's also an outside influence. It's influencing my golf ball in that regard. And so it could also be a player. It could be a dog. It could be it could be animate. It could be inanimate. It could be artificial or it could be natural. So outside influence is a very broad statement, but basically it's anything that almost can influence the movement of the golf ball. What is a referee? Many of you are referees. Now, the referee in truly in the sense of the rules of golf, the referee is a person who is available to the players who will apply the rules of golf. If they observe a breach in stroke play, they must act upon it. So I see a player ground their club in a bunker, which is strictly prohibited. And so if I observe that in stroke play, I have an obligation to call that penalty. A referee in match play, though, that's a little bit different. If maybe I'm assisting you with a ruling, and then it turned out that your opponent grounded their club in the bunker, well, if I didn't see it, I can't say anything. However, if I see it, I have to say something. But also where this comes up is if I am, for lack of a better phrase, often used, if I am an official on the golf course, let's say I'm assigned to holes 13, 14, and 15. If I'm watching holes 13, 14, and 15, I am not allocated or specifically assigned to a match. Then you and your opponent are playing the 13th hole. and I observe your opponent ground their club in the bunker. I cannot say anything because I'm not assigned to your match. However, if it comes to your attention, let's say a spectator or your caddy or somebody says, hey, your opponent grounded the club in the bunker. And so it comes to your attention, and you now say, wave me over and say, hey, Doug, I understand that so and so grounded their club in the bunker when they got ready to hit that shot. You have now invited me into the situation, and I would then deal with the rules and apply the rules of golf as I see it and as the facts require. However, if you don't say anything to me, and even though I've observed your opponent ground the club in the bunker in making a stroke, and then the two of you go and play from the next tee, you have lost your opportunity to say anything. However, or you may choose not to say anything. I mean, that's certainly most of you know that you don't have to apply the rules of golf if you don't see it, or even if you do see it for that matter. But in that particular case, if you're unaware of it and then it comes to you after the fact, the rules actually will allow you to call me over because that's information that you were not aware of at the time, became aware of after the fact. You can still apply apply the rules of golf because your opponent has an obligation to know the rules and call the rule any infraction on himself. So that'll give you an idea of what that is. But then there is the committee. Notice committee is with a capital C. Now I've highlighted and capitalized all these definitions, but you'll often hear me say, and through all of these webinars for this season and in past season, you'll hear me say committee with a capital C, like God with a capital G. That means the committee is the group of individuals. It could be one person, it could be a group of people that oversees, in this particular case, the competition. So if we have a competition going on, the MGA Amateur Championship, for example, I am the chief rules official. I will have a group of volunteers on the golf course, some with rules knowledge, some without rules knowledge, who are just helping out as tournament volunteers in a very important case, but without rules responsibilities. But then I will have a smaller group. I might have Catherine Sartain and Brian C. and Rob Tennant and Bob Boldus, who are my committee. So between the five of us, we are the committee, and we will deal with whatever situation comes about. And it could be that typically any complicated answers would come to me, but I may refer in conversation, refer to my committee and say, okay, this is what happened. What do you guys think? If it's not a clear-cut scenario of what we actually should do. So that's what a committee is, as opposed to committee with the lowercase c, which is just a generic phrase and not specific of any group of individuals who are in charge of that particular organization or that particular competition. But what term is missing? It's really interesting that through the rules of golf, as complete as they are, that this one particular phrase or term is not actually used in the rules of golf, and that is the player. Through all of this, the rules of golf will refer to the player, but it never defines what or who the player is. It's almost as though if we're this far into this process, we should understand who and what the player is. And so it's kind of interesting, but I think I don't necessarily have to describe it. I think all of you, no matter your rules knowledge, should have a pretty good idea of what or who the player is. Okay, so now we're going to jump to the pieces of equipment that we'll find in the rules of golf. Certainly, first and foremost is the concept of in play. What does in play mean? It refers to the golf ball. Is the golf ball in play? And the double asterisk there, look down at the bottom where it says, when the rules refer to a ball at rest, it means a ball in play. It doesn't mean some abandoned golf ball, or maybe a golf ball that was struck from the driving range and came to rest in the 10th fairway. It means a ball that was played by some player. And here we see, and here the term player, by a ball that was played by a player that is continuing desire to be played, and it's in play. Is a ball at rest a golf ball that lies out of bounds? No, because that ball that lies out of bounds is not in play. It's off the golf course. And as we talk more about ball in play, we'll see that for a ball to be in play, it has to be on the golf course as well. What is a provisional ball? Well, provisional ball, as we study, is a second ball. I probably shouldn't use the word second. So it's another ball that was played provisionally with the player, by the player who thinks that, one, they may not be able to find the original golf ball within 3 minutes of searching for it, or that ball may be out of bounds. The player is allowed to play a ball provisionally for those two reasons and those two reasons only. I stress that because many people will say that you can't play a provisional ball if a ball may go into a penalty area. Well, that's wrong. And it's because you're looking at it from, and people are going to argue, well, you can't hit a provisional ball if it went into a penalty area. Well, you're looking at it the wrong way. The correct way to look at it is there a possibility that the player can't find it outside of the penalty area within 3 minutes? Or is it possible that the ball went out of bounds? Those are the two reasons. As long as the player has the right, or has the thought that they may not find it. And what if it's a blind penalty area? They're playing a hole for the first time. They don't know that a penalty area exists down the right-hand side. If they don't know that and they flare it way right, they may choose to play provisional ball because they don't want to have to go back under lost ball and play another ball. So they're going to go ahead and play a ball provisionally. If at that point in time they get down there and they discover with either knowledge or virtual certainty that the ball is in the penalty area, then they must abandon the provisional and proceed under the penalty area rule. But you will get a lot of questions by those people who have recognized you now as the rules official at the club. They're going to get questions saying, well, he hit a provisional ball for a ball that could have gone into the water. He can't do that, can he? And you need to say, well, the question is, could the player have believed that the ball was going to be lost outside of the penalty area or out of bounds? Wrong ball. What is a wrong ball? A wrong ball is any ball that the player might play other than the ball in play. If the player hits it out of bounds, then if the player drops and plays another ball, it's not a wrong ball. If a player hits it towards penalty area and it may be lost, then the question then becomes, is it a wrong ball? Well, it all depends the procedure that they did to put that ball into play. If the player simply grabs another ball out of his bag and tosses it on the ground and says absolutely nothing to anybody, then it could very well be a wrong ball. But you have to ask the question of the player, what were your intentions? Were you intending to put that other ball into play? Or what? Were you hitting a mulligan just in case? Did you want to... was it a substitute golf ball? What were you doing? So there's more questions that have to be asked when you start dealing with the concept of a wrong ball. And don't confuse a wrong ball with an improperly substituted ball. I hit my ball onto a putting green, and then I go and put my favorite putting ball down there that I've got marked up specifically for putting. I put that one down there. That's an improperly substituted ball. That's not a wrong ball, even though it's a different ball from what I played onto the putting green. Could it be that I played a Titleist to the putting green, or I played a Titleist and I can't find my original ball. Now I drop and play a Callaway. Is that a wrong ball? Well, no, not unless the one ball rule is in effect, in which case the one ball rule is not something that many of you would ever have to deal with. Even in running USGA qualifiers, if we're doing qualifiers at the highest level for the US Open or the US Amateur or Women's Open, the one ball rule is not in effect. Now, when you get to a championship, it is. One ball rule, for those of you who don't know, it's you must play the same make and model golf ball that you played from the first tee. So if I'm playing a 2026 edition of a Titleist Pro V1 X, then I must continue playing a 2026 edition of Titleist Pro V1 X throughout that complete round. And so, but I would say rarely are any of you, unless you're officiating at a USGA championship level, are going to ever have to deal with a one ball rule. Ball marker. Interestingly, a ball marker has a definition, and this changed pretty dramatically in going back to 2019. A ball marker must be in an artificial device, okay, artificial item. So an artificial item could certainly be a coin, a ball marker that you pick up from the golf shop. It could be a poker chip. It could be whatever. It could be your foot. It could be your, by that, it could be your shoe. It can be the toe of your club. If you put the toe of your club down to mark the position of the ball, you pick up your ball, wipe off the grass on it and put it back down, that's fine. It could be, again, your cell phone. It could be a tee. Can it be a stick? No. Can it be a leaf? No. Can it be your finger? No, unless, of course, you have an artificial finger, in which case it can be your finger. So it has to be artificial. It also cannot have, depending upon the size, it cannot have items or lines or anything that aid you in putting. I've seen ball markers out there that actually are like a bubble level that will show you whether the ground is sloping left, right, front, back, something like that. If the ball marker is of a particular size or greater, it cannot have lines that can be used to help you line up your ball. Now, if you have simply a poker chip that you put lines on, generally speaking, a poker chip is about 1 3/4 inches in diameter using American terminology. So you can have those lines and that would do that. But I believe the actual language is anything greater than 2 inches in diameter, 2 inches in length in one direction. Anything greater than that cannot have any lines on it that would assist in the process. A tee is limited to 4 inches in length. We all know what a tee is, but a tee in specific, again, this kind of with ball marker, they got a lot more specific. You maybe have seen a video going back to prior to 2019 of John Daly hitting a ball off the top of a Diet Coke or something else a little bit stronger. Can you do that? Well, if you're just doing it for fun, well, no big deal. But if you're playing in competition, a tee is a device that is used to tee up the golf ball. Can you pull the eraser off the end of your pencil? Well, no, because a pencil is designed to write things. It's not designed to tee up your golf ball. So you have to be somewhat careful about that tee and what you're doing. Club length. Club length is a club length. It's the longest club you have in your bag at the beginning of the round. Generally speaking, it's going to be a driver, but that's not necessarily the case. But if you have a driver in your bag that you never use, you will still be able to use that driver length, when dealing with, often it's a relief scenario. Can you use an illegally long driver? What if you have a 60-inch driver that you use, that you don't play, that you have in your bag, you're counting as one of your 14 clubs, but can you use it for dropping? And the answer is no. You have to, the club length that you use must meet the specifications, which is 48 inches for the longest club in your bag. But there's a caveat to that. It's the longest club in your bag, excluding your putter. So if any of you putt with a long putter, you cannot use that. It's any club other than your putter that you can use to measure the one club length. What if you break the driver? Well, if you break your driver, be it an anger or the club head just flies off, is that still the longest club in your bag? And the answer is yes. You do not have to drop down to a 3-wood, a 5-wood, a 3-iron, whatever else like that. It's still the longest club in your bag in its complete form. So imagine what that would be. Put the two pieces together and measure your two club lengths. Okay, what about the flag stick? Again, a pin is only on diapers, hats, and lapels. So flag stick, we know what the flag stick is. It's the object that's placed in the center of the hole to identify the location of the hole. Often there is something on top of it, whether it be a basket or a flag. Boundary object could be a wall, could be a fence, could be stakes. Not only do we have to talk about a boundary object, but we have to identify what defines that. And we'll see that when we get into discussing out of bounds. And then lastly, equipment. We have everything that either we are carrying or our caddy is carrying for us. That is our equipment. If our caddy is carrying our umbrella, if the caddy is carrying a banana in his caddy bib, those things are all equipment. Don't automatically think, and while most cases they're going to be artificial, they don't necessarily have to be artificial. And so just realize that's our equipment, but then we also have to deal with the equipment rules associated with that. All right, so we have a question here. Carol Dietz, I will unmute you. Why don't you unmute yourself, Carol, and you can ask the question. Let's see, Carol, I'm trying to unmute you. Let's see. Nope, disable camera. Nope, don't. Carol, can you unmute yourself? I'm not able to unmute you. Okay. Well, let me see if I can. Nope.
Is it my question, Doug?
If I expand this, let me see if there are any notes. Let's see. Raise hand, people. Okay. I thought there was. Let me see. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Q&A. Nope. Chat. Let me see if I get to the chat question. Let's see. Let me go down. I have to go through all the chats where you're doing this. Okay, so nope, that was Carol. Carol, if you go into the chat, send your question via chat. And let's see if I can do that. I can see it that way. So I'll just keep going and I'll get, let's see, nope. I'll just go down to, Michael, I'm going to, wait a minute.
Can you hear me, Doug?
Michael Ferenchek, okay, so you asked Michael Ferenchek, can you expand the ball in play as to what the PGA golfer was dealing with at the AT&T tournament when he was trying to put his ball down on the green and the wind was blowing it? Briefly, Michael, I'll go ahead and answer this question, but I think one of the things we'll talk about when we get to actually that part, But when the ball comes to rest on the putting green, the player now owns that spot. So when the player goes to put the ball back down, he must put the ball back down in that exact spot. However, when he does so, he has 2 attempts to try to get it to come to rest at that spot. If he cannot get it to come to rest for whatever reason, be it the slope of the green, be it the wind or whatever, then the player is required to go to the nearest spot where the ball will come to rest. However, once it comes to rest, if it is then moved, he has to put it back because, again, the ball now owns that spot. He has to play from that spot or the nearest point where the ball will come to rest. So I didn't, unfortunately, because I was down here, I didn't see that. But I would tell you that more than likely is what particularly happened, what you're talking about. All right. So anyhow, let's see. So now we're going to talk about the actions that are included in the rules of golf. You can see these actions. Advice. What is advice? Advice is anything that either the player asks for or was provided to the player. Sometimes it can be wanted, that is, the player asked for it. Sometimes it can be unwanted, player information was provided to them. Sometimes advice is permissible. Advice from my caddy is certainly permissible. I had a caddy down at Barnbougle, and he was giving me suggestions, club selection, direction of my line of play and playing a tee shot or on the putting green. That's advice that is not only assistance, helpful, wanted, and permitted. However, if I were playing with another player and I asked that player, they hit a golf shot and my ball is right next to theirs, and I say, hey, what club did you hit? That's going to be asking for advice that's improperly requested in the rules, unless that person was my partner. Again, we now go back to the understanding of what my partner, who is my partner, and what relationship do I have with them. So that would play that. If I'm getting ready to play a shot and somebody hits their shot and it gets up in the wind and comes up short, and the player just not wanting to give me advice necessarily says to his caddy or somebody else and says, man, I just nuked that 9-iron. The player isn't necessarily giving me information that he hit 9-iron. As long as he wasn't trying to tell me that he hit 9-iron, then what he said and the fact that I received it is irrelevant. However, if he was a friend of mine and thinking, well, I just nuked that 9-iron, telling me I need to hit 8 or maybe even a knockdown 7, if he gave that information to me, then he's going to be penalized. If I don't ask for it, I'm not going to be penalized. But that I think we have a pretty good idea of what that advice concept really is. Stance. It's not just where we place our stance or place our feet, but it's also, if we place our feet, our body has to go with our feet. So we're going to see that stance also impacts our entire body. Where are we going with our body, and where is it going to be? This is also particularly true when we're taking relief or a situation where the information is or our stance is going to get into the least intrusive course of action. And we'll talk about that. Tom Parker, going back to the advice, correctly states, available information, publicly available information is not advice. So if I'm looking at my rangefinder and I see that it's 140 meters or 154 yards to the hole, you can ask me because that's publicly available information. Or maybe I know that the hole location is on 20 and 5 from the left. Because I've got my hole location sheet out there, you forgot to pick one up, I can share that information with you. So that's public information. Stroke. What is stroke? A stroke under the old definition was the forward movement of the club made with the intention to strike at and move the golf ball. It really is based on intention of the player. It's the act of the player to strike the golf ball with the forward movement of the club. And so if I'm taking the club back, that backswing is not part of the stroke. So in many regards, a stroke has three components. There's the backswing, there's the forward swing to the point of impact, and then there's the follow through, and that is at the point of impact and beyond. So the backswing and the follow through are irrelevant. The stroke is really, in many regards, what we're talking about. It's that forward movement. Does the player have intent to strike the golf ball? If the player ceases intent to strike the golf ball while making that forward motion of the stroke, and let's say chooses to make a check swing. We've seen Tiger do it. We've seen other people do it and swing over the top of the golf ball. As long as the player does not have intention during the course of that forward swing to strike the ball, then it's not a stroke. But the question is, if they make contact with the ball, you have to look at where was the ball. If the ball was in the teeing area, there's no stroke, and the player is simply tees up another golf ball, such as we saw Zach Johnson do with the practice swing down at Augusta. Makes a practice swing, comes off the toe, hits the tee marker, and goes left. There was no intention in the case of Zach Johnson to make a stroke at that point in time. He simply gets another golf ball, laughs it off as they did, and he hits another ball in that particular case. So that'll give you an idea of what stroke is. Hold. Hold means when is the ball in the hole? The ball is in the hole when it either comes to rest in the hole, or if it's resting against the flagstick and any part of the golf ball is below the surface of the green, then that ball is hold. It also has a caveat. It will go to say, if the ball is still rolling around in the bottom, hasn't come to rest, is the ball in the hole? Well, the clarification will say yes, because if there's no chance that the ball is going to come out of the hole, the fact that it's still moving when I pull it out of the hole, if you think Kevin Na and how quickly he would go and pull the ball out of the hole, as long as if it was moving, but as long as there was no chance that the ball was going to come out of the hole, then that's okay and no problem. So that is what, and once the ball is hold, the hole is complete for that particular player. Drop. We all know what a drop is. We know that we have to drop from knee height. We simply have the ball in our hand and let go. We can't spin it. We can't do anything unique and different with it. And as soon as that ball leaves our hand and starts falling to earth by virtue of gravity, that ball has been dropped. And that ball is in play at that particular time. And we'll get into, as we study the rules about dropping the golf ball, we'll get into some of the nuances of that particular situation. So John Young asked, if a teammate tells his teammate what club he hit to influence the play, is that considered advice? And unlike a player, and that is yes. So if John and I are playing and we are not partners in the true sense of the word partner, but we're teammates playing for whatever team it is, and I say, John, I nuked that 9-iron to influence what John is doing, that is advice, and I'm going to be penalized. John will not be penalized unless he particularly asks for it. Or somehow looking for him to make it. Unwelcome advice. So Bill Hirsch asks, unwelcome advice may unfortunately come from a spectator. True. This would require a player to make an attempt to stop further advice from such spectator. Absolutely. If I have somebody going along with me and saying, hey, John just hit 7-iron over there, you need to hit 6-iron, then if it continues to happen, I have a responsibility to tell that spectator that they need to cease and desist. Excuse me just a moment. One more. All right, so we've seen drop marking a golf ball. There's specific process. What is a ball marker? We've already talked about that. Under the actions, well, we don't use a ball marker unless we have the action of marking the golf ball. Marking a golf ball certainly can be done most likely on the putting green, but can be done other places as well. If we need to pick up the golf ball, maybe we need to inspect it, see if it's damaged, maybe it's interfering with play. There are many reasons why we need to mark a golf ball. Some cases we can do so without being asked. Other cases we have to be asked in order to do that. And we'll get into those as we delve into the actual process of marking and replacing a golf ball, which gets us into then the definition of replacing a ball or to replace. The action of replacing or to replace a golf ball is the act of putting a ball back down in its original spot. Certainly the best example is on a putting green. If I mark my golf ball with my University of Arizona ball marker, poker chip, I pick it up, I clean it. I now have a responsibility under the rules to put it back down in its proper spot. And that is called to replace the golf ball. That putting this ball back on this spot to continue play, as opposed to putting any other ball on any other spot. Replace simply is very specific, dealing with putting the ball back on the spot. Substitute means, in this particular case, and in almost all cases dealing with a golf ball, I'm going to substitute. Maybe I discover that my ball is damaged, which it's very difficult to damage a golf ball these days, but or maybe I've hit it into a penalty area, or maybe my original golf ball was hit by another player mistakenly. I can't retrieve it, so now the rules tell me I'm going to replace a ball, the ball, or substitute another ball. So that's what substitute means. Embedded, ball is embedded in its own pitch mark. Very clear, very specific. A ball is embedded in the ground, and we'll talk about this when we study that rule, talking about a ball embedded in its own pitch mark in the ground. And I stress its own pitch mark because it can't be any other pitch mark. That one of the model local rules that, or clarifications that has come up, will deal with that, and I'll talk about that when we get to those at the end of the this series of webinars, the rules on tap. But embedded also has to be embedded in the ground, and we'll talk about that. It can't just be really deep down into grass. It actually has to break the level of the ground. What is it to improve? Well, if we're going to talk about conditions affecting the stroke and the player being penalized for improving the conditions affecting the stroke, we have to define what to improve actually means. And that's to improve the conditions affecting the stroke that for the stroke at hand. It can't be future, it can't be past. It has to be, and for conditions affecting the stroke, it has to be there has to be a ball on the ground and in play for us to improve something. It could be our line of play, but it could be, again, conditions affecting the stroke, and we'll talk about that. Moved. Under the simple definition of we're talking about a ball now. Has a ball been moved? The simple definition is, has it left its original position and come to rest any other place? And come to rest in any other place is very literal. Did it drop down in the grass a quarter or half of an inch? Did it roll forward a half of an inch? Where this is different, though, is moved under the definition in physics. An object could be oscillating, and for us by looking at it with our naked eye, we can see a ball oscillating. Is it moving? Yes. Has it moved? No. Why hasn't it moved? We can see it moving. Well, the question is, did it leave its original spot and come to rest anywhere else? And if the answer is no, then under the rules of golf, the ball has not moved. And that's going to be a critical component to us. And we'll talk about more about that. Then we get into the very difficult definition that really comes to play in more of dealing with penalty areas. And that is Rule 16, penalty areas. Is it known or virtually certain that a ball is where we think it's going to be? In the case of Rule 16, is it known or virtually certain that the ball's in a penalty area? We don't know that. So we need to pay attention to that and try using all the available resources possible. And the key phrase, and you'll hear me say this when we teach this rule, that known or virtually certain is a 95% certainty. Can the player with a 95% certainty say that the ball's in this penalty area? Or is it lost in ground under repair? Or whatever happened to the golf ball, are we 95% certain that that is the case? That means a 1 in 20 or 19 out of 20 likelihood that the ball is where we think it is. The reality is there is a lot that happens in golf that we don't necessarily know. And so we have to use our best judgment. So it is very specific. And that 95%, so when you start looking at possibilities, is it more probable that the ball's in the penalty area? Well, it could be. I mean, 51 to 49% probability means it's more probable, but that does not reach the level of virtual certainty. So we have to pay attention to that. Is it likely? Is it most likely? Is it, well, yeah, probably. Those don't meet that. So as officials, as referees, if we go up to a player who's looking for the golf ball, and they say, what I like to say is the ball in the penalty area? And they go, well, yeah. To me, that's not 95% certain. I'm not going to disagree that it's possible that the ball's in the penalty area, but do we have that 95% level of certainty to allow the player to play appropriately? And that's a real key, because I will tell you, players in amongst themselves will rarely ever get to the 95% likelihood. Most people are going to say, well, did you hit it in there? And if it's just a fun game, that's one thing. But if we're playing for some prize, we have to apply the rules of golf. And it's very important that we apply the rules of golf. Unfair, you'll hear me say this, unfair. I don't like the concept of unfair versus fair, because there is a bias associated with that. What's unfair for me may be fair for you. It has to be equitable. We have to treat all situations alike. And can we, if my ball was going towards a penalty area, and is it unfair for me to say the ball didn't go in the penalty area? Maybe, maybe not. But when you're applying the rules across the board to 140 player field, it has to be very specific. And was that situation equitable under the circumstances? And it has to be equitable going across. And I would tell you that to pay attention to that when you are, and keep that in the back of your mind when you are applying the rules as a referee. And lastly, serious breach. What is serious breach? Serious breach is when somebody plays from a wrong place and gains an advantage by doing so. Most specifically, instead of playing from behind the penalty area for a yellow penalty area, they play on the green side of the penalty area. And maybe the ball, let's put hole number 12 at Augusta in mind. We know that's the par 3 across Rays Creek. Player hits a ball, hits above the yellow line, and goes back down into, no Fred Couples here, the ball doesn't hang up on the bank. it's mowed tight, it goes back down into the penalty area. If a player were to play where the ball last crossed the penalty area on the green side, that would be playing from a wrong place with a serious breach. So generally speaking, it has to get into, has the player gained an advantage? And that also becomes somewhat subjective to the skill of the player. And so in this particular case, the ball stops and then goes back into the penalty area. Irrespective of the skill of the player has to go back. I mean, we saw Jordan Spieth hit it into the penalty area and then chunk it in the penalty area again. And so on his way to 8 or 9 or something like that on that particular hole. And so we have to make sure, is that particularly an advantage? However, maybe a penalty area is very narrow. Maybe it's 5 yards. If you're talking a tour player plays on the green side of that 5-yard wide penalty area. Is that particularly advantageous? Maybe, maybe not. Is the player, instead of dropping and playing from a bush, if the player drops and plays from a wrong place outside the bush, is that gaining a significant advantage? Well, potentially, likely so. So don't automatically think gaining advantage in terms of playing from a wrong place from a penalty area. It can apply playing from a wrong place no matter where you are on the golf course. If you move your ball marker over and fail to move it back, are you gaining an advantage? And the answer is no. So if you play from a wrong place on the putting green, it's only a loss of hole or a 2-stroke penalty, but you're not going to be required to replay the stroke because you haven't played with a serious breach. All right. So what's left? What's left are things. We have animals. Animal, by definition of the rules, because there is a definition to an animal is any living object other than a human being. So you have a snake, you have a crab, you have a crawfish down here, which is a bug or a lobster. You have a deer running across. It doesn't matter. Any living entity other than a human being is an animal. Conditions affecting the stroke. We've already talked about some of those. The general penalty in match play is loss of hole. General penalty in stroke play is 2 strokes. And there are 1-stroke penalties both in match play and in stroke play. And you can have multiple 1-stroke penalties that may result in 2 strokes, but that's not the general penalty then. It's 2 1-stroke penalties. You have honor, which I think we all know means the player who is to play next, or who is to play first from the tee. Honor is not order of play. Honor only applies to the teeing area. An immovable obstruction. This is an obstruction, an artificial object that can be readily moved by the player, and it can differ. You could have Mrs. Haverkamp from Caddyshack who cannot move the bench in front of her, and that's an immovable obstruction. Whereas if you get a footballer, be it a Victorian Football League or American football, who can pick up and move this bench with one hand, that's not an immovable obstruction. It's player specific. We have an integral object. An integral object is an object on the golf course, and by virtue of the fact that it's an object, it's artificial. But because of the nature of the object, where it's located, it's integral to playing the game. Best example is the rolled hole at St. Andrews. If we aren't playing with grandstands sitting there, if we play the rolled hole, which is 17 on the old course, we have the road and we have the wall next to it. The road and the wall next to it are integral objects, which mean the player is not entitled to free relief, despite the fact that these objects are artificial and immovable. Then we have the lie. The lie is what affects the golf ball. The ball is at rest, and the lie is anything affecting or basically coming into contact with the golf ball. we have loose impediments. All of you know what a loose impediment is. It is a detached natural object. A stone is a loose impediment. A large branch is a loose impediment. A tree that is come separated from its trunk, from the root structure, is a large loose impediment. Whether you get, and in most cases, you're going to get relief from loose impediments by being able to move those loose impediments. Can you gain help moving a loose impediment? Yes. Tiger Rock is infamous. I mean, we know going all the way back to Tiger at Phoenix that he had 10 of his closest friends who he had never met help him move that rock out of the way. Well, first of all, what was the rock? The rock was a loose impediment. It was natural and it could be moved. And so they were able to move that rock out of the way. That was totally within his right then, and it's totally within its right now, except for the fact the rock has a plaque on it and has been transformed from a loose impediment into an integral object. Then we have concept of lost. What is lost? Well, generally speaking, lost is regarding the golf ball, and that is we can't find the ball within 3 minutes of having searched for it. And we'll study that more in Rule 17. We have movable obstructions. Well, if you have immovable obstructions, I said that bench now becomes a movable obstruction for that football player. Natural forces. What are natural forces? Wind, water, and basically unexplained forces, most specifically gravity, are natural forces. Our natural is wind created by a fan behind the putting green. A natural force? No, that is not wind that's created naturally. That's man-made wind. Just like water from an irrigation system, from a sprinkler head, is not natural force. That is water that is man-made, propelled, and created. So we need to understand what natural forces are versus forces that exist in a man-made sense. We have obstructions, which is the general form of an artificial object of which we have immovable and movable. Then we have the round. What is the round? Well, the round is 18 holes or fewer that is defined by the committee. If you play 9-hole league, not the match or the round, your round is 9 holes. And it could start on the first hole, it could start on the 14th hole, it doesn't matter. And so your round is whatever number of holes the committee sets. Committee cannot set a round for more than 18 holes. However, and this is kind of wild, in match play, if you and I are playing a match and we are tied after 18 holes, the match may continue by playing additional holes, but the round in theory is over, but yet the round continues, and the round continues in that I am not allowed to change any equipment. The question came up, I think in, not at Pebble Beach, but down the event before that, maybe where I think Minwoo Lee or somebody was practicing on the second hole, and the question came up, how could they practice on the golf course for a playoff when play is still going on? The answer lies in what has the committee established to be the holes for the playoff. And the PGA Tour will typically play the 18th hole 3 times and then go back to maybe 17 or 16 and then play 16, 17, 18 again. If they don't define or if they define the playoff being certain holes, then he can go out and actually practice. And there is also a model local rule, or the rules allow the player to practice on the competition course between rounds. So if that happens, then they can go back out and actually play on the golf course or practice on the golf course. It's really dependent upon what the committee sets up. Then we have a scorecard. What is a scorecard? Well, everybody knows it's generally that piece of paper. However, for the MGA, thanks to COVID, we've gone totally electronic. So the scorecard is a digital scorecard. We use Golf Genius, and players are going to be entering the scores in Golf Genius. So the scorecard is that digital format that when the players come into the scoring area, they have to confirm the scores that are have been entered into the system via that method. Then we have stroke. We've talked about stroke. It is the ball, the forward movement of the club. We've talked about that. But the stroke also refers to the ball having moved and come to rest somewhere else. After the player makes a stroke, doesn't always mean the ball comes to rest somewhere else. The player can swing and miss. They've made a stroke, but the ball is still in play in the same spot. But so we have to be a little bit careful when we do use the word stroke, that we're clearly defining what we mean. And then lastly, we have stroke and distance. Stroke and distance, we all know, is the only form of relief available for a ball lost or a ball out of bounds. However, it is one of the options for a ball in a penalty area or a ball unplayable. Oops, wait a minute. All right, so now you've seen all 74 definitions. This is the language of the rules. All of them are important, but some are more so simply because they are more common. I'm not going to say they're more important, but they're more common. So you need to be aware of them. Again, be aware of that if you see terms that are italicized when you're reading the rules, be it in your rules app, and if you haven't downloaded the rules app, you need to do so. I unfortunately tried to download the R&A rules app. I'd love to have the R&A rules app on my phone. But because my phones are based in the United States, I'm only allowed to download the USGA version, USGA app. And the last point to be made, if you do absolutely nothing, if you attend no more rules on tap sessions, if all you do is just have paid attention and learned the definitions, I will tell you that is the most important thing to do, because you now understand the language and you know how to apply the rules of golf. But wait, there's more. There are actually over 80 internal definitions. And internal definition is a phrase or a word that's defined within a particular rule, has a very limited scope of nature that makes it internal definitions. Others, as I say here, others created by rules and clarifications for purpose of applying the rules. If we simply use the language in the rules, they aren't clear enough, so we're going to actually create a definition within the rule itself. And so some of these internal definitions, agree. Well, if you and I agree to something, what does that actually mean? Well, that's clarified or defined in this clarification. Area of intended stance, that's defined in the concept of cats. And we're actually going to get into the concept and definition of cats. Embedded, what does embedded actually mean? Fairly taking a stance. We'll get into this idea of taking a stance and what is legitimate, if you will, and what's illegitimate in taking a stance. What is ground? What about an intervening event? Player does two things wrong. Player rakes a bunker that improves their cats, but then grounds the club prior to making the stroke. Those are two unique separate penalties, but how do we apply those? So when we get into talking about multiple penalties, we have to take into consideration this intervening event. Ready golf, we all pretty well know or should know what ready golf is. And then this concept of reasonable judgment. What actually is reasonable judgment? And that will tell us that I, as a player, recognize, or the rules recognize, I may not have perfect knowledge. I may not know everything. And I then need to use the judgment and use reasonable judgment to determine the scenario and then apply the rules given the circumstances. As long as I'm that reasonable, I'm trying to operate within the rules of golf as they are. So anyhow, that's all I've got, so now you've learned everything there is about the definition, about the language of the rules. So when we, please turn off my speaker. How'd it get turned back on? I don't think my speaker's on, Warren. Not sure, but anyhow, you learned everything that there is to know. If you have questions, feel free to go ahead and submit a question. I'd love to get any other questions that you have. A couple, the embedded ball rule expanded this year, John. I'm going to get into that because I'm running out of time. I'm going to ask you to come back when we talk about embedded ball and conditions affecting relief and those. We're going to deal with that. Oh, playback is running, so the show is being doubled. I don't know how that happened. Oh, maybe it's supposed to be two hours of nature. That's interesting. My speaker is off, so I'm not really sure what's happening. But anyhow, in the chance that some of you can hear the music, that will go to ours. Otherwise, I will try to resolve these problems, and so that it's, I will set the playback longer. But until then, have a great week. Have a great weekend. I appreciate your being involved, and I look forward to seeing you next week or on future MGA Rules on Tap. You guys be good. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Doug.